Have you ever experienced this? Your ROAS is good, then you increase your budget by 50%, 10%, 30%, and suddenly your ROAS starts tanking and you're wondering, why am I not being able to scale my ads? And there's a couple of reasons behind this, and I'm gonna delve deep into why scaling sometimes feel extremely hard, frustrating, and you feel like you're burning money, although you're actually doing the right thing, right? So let me introduce you first to the timeline of and the customer journey that a customer might experience, right? They see let's say your conversion cycle is about 14 days from the first click to the conversion event. Let's say on day 1 they see the first ad. On day 4 they see another ad. Day 14 they essentially buy, right? At the beginning of your ad account, you probably remembered that the first few days were horrible. You had to burn money, and suddenly ROAS went up, and you started making money. Right, and on day 14, you see a good ROAS. Day 15, again, good ROAS. So what you decide to do is double the ad budget. There's two things going on, and I think the first one is the most important, right? And that is that you're actually starting a new cycle, right? On day 14, you're increasing your budget, which means your previous cycle is still going on, right? People that entered your funnel on day 3 will convert on day 17. But now you're suddenly increasing your budget, and Meta is going to send out your ads to a completely new audience, right? So that incremental budget is actually starting a new cycle, which means it doesn't always mean that it's exactly 14 days, right? I'm just taking this as an example, but that incremental budget again needs 14 days in order to reach that conversion event. You're not just like you're actually building a new pool of people that are entering your funnel. And that's why in the first few days it's really hard to decide, okay, is this scaling actually working? Right? The second thing that's going on, if you increase your budget by 50%, you're actually re-triggering the algorithm to go into learning, which isn't always a bad thing, right? Sometimes you just don't want that. And if you don't want that to happen, you increase your budget by 10% every 3 to 4 days, which is perfectly possible. You're still going to run into that incremental timeline budget, right? But then you won't re-trigger learning. In some cases, it's even good to re-trigger learning. If you really want to scale hard and you want to 4 or 5x your budget or start a scaling campaign, it might be a good thing to re-trigger that learning because you want to actually reach a broader audience. Maybe that right now your algorithm is actually trained on that very specific audience that's converting, and that's good, high ROAS, okay? But if you want to really scale your story, you want to speak to maybe a bit of a broader audience, and Meta actually needs to re-trigger its learning to understand, okay, how is this new audience engaging with the content and how can I make them purchase on the ad? So that's two things that's really important to know about scaling. Now, there is a third element in this, and it's creative output. You can't just scale and keep scaling with the same output that you're doing. More revenue in most cases also means that you need more content, more personas, more moments to target, right? Because if you're really niche based and you want to scale, just like I said a couple of seconds or minutes ago, is you want to reach a bit of a broader audience. So you also need wider variety of content. And that's a big problem that most stores do when they see something that's winning. They just keep replicating that thing. And it's good, it's gonna scale, it's gonna bring in a lot of short-term revenue, but every angle, every ad has a life cycle. And when you want to truly scale, you don't need to only focus on vertically expanding your ads. Okay? And vertically, let me introduce the concept of horizontal scaling and vertical scaling. Vertical scaling is, okay, that ad is winning, I'm going to create a lot of variations on it. Horizontal scaling is, okay, I'm going to create different type of angles, different types of content. And you can do both of them, right? You scale vertically, you see one winning, okay, I'm going to create variations like this on it. But it's really important that once you find a winning angle, you keep looking for winning angles. You don't just settle with that one winning angle and scale it vertically. It will die out. It will become boring. People will look for new, innovative ways of that content. So that's when you start introducing horizontal scaling and you keep looking for new winning angles. And that's how the big brands keep scaling, because they keep finding new winning angles. And you can only do that by outputting a lot of creatives every single month. And I'm not just saying relentlessly outputting without thinking about it. You need to think about your content. You need to have a very clear angle, persona, a script that is tailored to that person. But those are the basic principles of scaling. And if you don't realize those, you're gonna run into some problems. So don't increase your budget too much when you start scaling, because you might run into cash flow issues, which means you need to lower the budget again, which means you might re-trigger learning again. And that's not helpful for your brand. So calculate about at what pace you can scale without burning too much money, and implement those things that I said at the beginning. Realize about the timeline, realize about re-triggering learning. If that's something you want to do it deliberately, but otherwise don't scale too hard or just start a new campaign. Okay, and those are some principles that we had to realize the hard way when we were scaling campaigns for our clients.